The following program is sponsored by AmeriLife of Central Florida.
Just ahead on Retirement Your Way with AmeriLife of Central Florida. Did you know that income is much more important than that one big number that you have saved up in your retirement nest egg? We'll tell you why. Plus, could Social Security run out of money? We'll tell you what the experts say about that. And Bradley and Madison will share how they were able to help someone just like you solve their financial conundrum. Retirement Your Way starts now. Hello and welcome to Retirement Your Way. I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for joining us this time around. I am here with Bradley and Madison Harden from AmeriLife of Central Florida. Hello once again. Appreciate you, of course, as always, sharing your wisdom with us.
You are welcome, Matt. Good to see you again.
It's very good to see you both. For anybody who might be joining us for the first time watching the show, talk about yourselves a little bit and kind of, how you got into this maybe, and, AmeriLife of Central Florida as well, and what AmeriLife is all about.
Yeah, so for over 50 years now, AmeriLife has been providing life, health, and financial solutions to clients nationwide. And we, luckily, have combined 17 years of experience helping retirees safely navigate their new journey in retirement.
Doing that right here in Central Florida.
Yeah, and I started off with AmeriLife as a telemarketer. So my job was to call you on the phone and
interrupt her dinner.
Exactly. Hello, this is Bradley. But, over the time of being a telemarketer, I saw the good that people were doing in the community, helping retirees. When clients would come into the office and then they would leave, the look of relief is really what drew me to want to pursue this as a long-term career. And I'm happy to be able to do that with my wife on a daily basis.
And that's really AmeriLife's mission, is just to help their clients live longer, healthier lives.
That is a wonderful goal to have, of course. And, a lot goes into planning for retirement, obviously. There are a lot of decision points. If you have been saving and investing your whole working life, for example, you've probably got a big nest egg saved up by now. The real question, though, is how do you take that one big number and turn it into income that you can actually live on? And then more importantly, how do you then, make sure that you can never run out of money in retirement? Well, the focus of today's show is on income. So let's start out by talking about the source of income that we should all be able to count on in our retirement years, and that is Social Security. It's, of course, the thing that people talk about a lot during retirement. I think a lot of people, probably too many, rely on it solely for retirement, but it's a big, decision to make when to draw it. And there's just a lot that goes into it.
Right. And when Social Security was designed, it was really only intended to replace 30 to 40% of your working wages. And so a lot of times when we sit down with our clients, we try to bridge that gap. Okay, well, Mr. Jones, you are making X amount of dollars at your job. Social Security is only going to bring in this amount of money. So we try to come up with a plan to offset that and supplement Social Security because, as you mentioned, it's only going to take up about a third of a retiree's income once they're in retirement.
Yeah, and that's key because I think that, as I alluded to, it's not going to be enough to cover all of your expenses in retirement. And, it should be a situation, I feel like, where people have a plan in place and then Social Security is kind of the cherry on top. It's not the thing that you're relying on right every month to make ends meet.
Right. And one common strategy that we use to kind of explain that is the three-legged stool. So Social Security simply makes up one portion of that, whereas the other two streams are going to be if you were lucky enough to have a pension from a job, and then your investment accounts and how those are going to be able to pay you in retirement to kind of bridge that gap. Unfortunately, pensions from a company are a lot more slim now than they used to be. So if you are lucky enough to have one, then that's great. But where we really see something that we can offer our clients is by creating that personal pension for them, in which you're going to have more flexibility for a single versus a joint, which you may not always have at a company. And there's a lot more benefits to that than people understand.
Yeah, a lot more benefits, a lot more options there, some flexibility also. And I think people watching are probably like, wait a minute, I didn't even know that such a thing existed. Is that something that you find people say a lot when you meet with them, or maybe at seminars you do in the community and that sort of thing to educate people about this? Or like, I didn't know I could actually create my own personal pension.
Right, exactly. Like you said, everyone's heard of Social Security. Everybody knows generally what a pension is, but creating your own personal pension is new to these seminars and these events. And a lot of people enjoy the ability to be able to control that. So if I want to take it now, I can. If I want to let it defer just like Social Security, I can. If I want to pay it just to me or to my spouse as well, you've got plenty of options versus this is what it is and this is all of your choices.
Yeah, and it's also something that can provide you with some protection against market risk as well. And when you're in that sort of accumulation phase, you can also get a lot of other benefits, even in retirement. We were talking just recently about long-term care. If you might need long-term care, it's something that you could use that as a benefit. And so I just feel like there's a lot of education that we're probably providing to a lot of people here right now, because they don't necessarily know that that's even an option and how many different options are within this one particular investment vehicle, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, very good. Well, stick around. We've got so much more to talk about as far as income goes. We're going to talk about different income streams here on today's show. Before we take a quick break, though, you're going to notice a QR code. It's right there on your screen, and it'll be there throughout today's show. Take out your phone, and at any time you can scan it, and Bradley and Madison will get started on your retirement plan today. That initial consultation, by the way, free of any cost or any obligation. All right, stick around. There is much more Retirement Your Way still to come. Welcome back. This is Retirement Your Way. I'm Matt McClure here with Bradley and Madison Harden with AmeriLife of Central Florida. We're talking all about income today and creating multiple income streams in retirement and getting you set up for success. That's really kind of what it's all about. As we said in the beginning, the income that you're going to have to live on is much more important than that one big retirement nest egg number, especially creating income that you can't outlive. And that's part of what we were talking about just then in segment one, and also a lot about Social Security in the first segment of this show today as well. It's, those are kind of two sources of income. And obviously, as we were saying, Social Security, not going to be enough to make those ends meet. So creating that personal pension is going to help fill the gap that's left behind. Well, let's move on and talk now about an actual real life scenario that you guys have helped, a family that you all have helped. We're going to put information about them up here on the screen. We're calling them the Jones family. We're changing the name to protect the innocent here. But the Jones family, as we're calling them, needed a little help in their plan. And one of those was actually having to do with Social Security, something that we were just talking about. But kind of give us the lay of the land as far as the Jones family and what their issues are.
Right. And so when we initially met with them, the husband was already retired and the wife is working as a school teacher. And he had been taking the advice for as long as he can remember to defer Social Security until age 70. He wanted to maximize his benefit. So that was his plan for years up until we met them. After we did a thorough analysis, we just discovered that every year he was having to make withdrawals from his 401k plan to cover the expenses that his wife's employment did not cover. So she was working, bringing in income, but also to supplement that, he was drawing down those accounts. Those accounts also were still invested on the stock market. So now I know over the past, 10 years or so, those accounts were rising, but we did see in 2022 and 2023, those start to come back a little bit. So when we sat down, we analyzed, is it the best idea to defer your Social Security until age 70? One reason is we never know when we're going to pass away. And so by him drawing down those accounts, what it was doing essentially was leaving less money in a lump sum version to his wife if something were to happen to him. And so through discovery and finding out what was best for them, we actually educated them enough to where he did, in fact, start turning on his Social Security, started collecting that benefit, and he protected those accounts. So not only were we able to help them create lifetime income that they can't outlive, we also protected the assets from the market.
That's wonderful. And you're really kind of, using different financial instruments here that, to use a very old phrase, kill two birds with one stone in a way, or, cover all your bases, whatever analogy or illustration you want to use. And that's important because it really is, as we've talked about before, a holistic kind of approach, because none of these things live on an island by themselves. It's like, your investments over here, your Social Security is over here, and all this. No, it's all part of one picture.
Right. And like we mentioned before, sometimes people aren't even aware of these tools that are available to them. And we were able to, like Bradley said, protect some of their nest egg and then also create another income stream that they will be able to turn on, so to speak, whenever they're ready to. So they definitely appreciated the help that we were able to give them, and especially from an emotional standpoint, because it was very stressful for him having to take those withdrawals and just watching their accounts come down just to pay their taxes and pay their homeowners insurance and these big things that certainly aren't decreasing in costs. So it was definitely kill two birds with one stone sort of thing.
Definitely, or a lot of birds with one stone.
Yeah.
We're just killing birds all over the place, apparently. I love it. Well, and do you find out too, I mean, like, as you were saying, people don't necessarily know that particular financial vehicles exist. They might think, oh, that maybe sounds too good to be true, or whatever the situation might be. That really knowledge is power a lot of the time. And when you have the knowledge, because people may have heard bad things about, oh, don't invest in this particular thing, or don't invest in that particular thing, with people on, the radio or TV or whatever, making just blanket statements about this entire section of your financial life. Don't, do this. Do you find that knowledge really is power, and the more power that you have, the more that you are able to make those educated decisions?
Right, exactly. And also, these solutions have been around for hundreds of years. And so, particularly some of these solutions, they survived through the Great Depression. So knowing that these people that are providing you these personal pension plans and this protection, this is not anything new.
Right.
So they've been around for a long time, but it's just people haven't really been looking for it. And so it's nice to be able to educate people in the community, whether it's through this or through dinners and stuff, and show them that there are other ways to be protected and kind of have that it's 5 o'clock somewhere type of retirement.
Right.
There you go. And not a just in case kind of retirement. Because, you don't want to just be flying by the seat of your pants and all of the things. I've got so many, illustrations and analogies and things today, I don't even know what to do with myself. Stick around, though. We've got much more of Retirement Your Way still to come. There is going to be a game that we will play. It's called Right or Wrong. That is coming up. And who knows, you may have prizes, or you may just get to have some pride in yourself if you get it right. So play along with us when we come back. And also, don't forget, scan that QR code. It's right there on your screen. You can set up an initial consultation with Bradley and Madison. They'll be glad to get you started along the road to a more successful retirement. All right, stick around. Retirement Your Way continues next. This is Retirement Your Way. Thanks so much for being a part of the show this time around. Matt McClure here alongside Bradley and Madison Hardin with AmeriLife of Central Florida. It is time for us to play everyone's favorite financial game show. It is called Right or Wrong. Unfortunately, we have no prizes to give you other than our gratitude for joining us for the show and having fun along with us. But what we want you to do at home or wherever you happen to be watching is to play along with us, test your financial knowledge a little bit, and see how well you do. As I present a statement, try and pull the wool over the eyes of these two over here and fool them a little bit. I'll just say a statement and as if it is the gospel truth, and they'll tell me whether or not it is actually right or if it is wrong. Okay, let's do this. Another edition of Right or Wrong, and we'll hop right into it with a bunch of questions about Social Security this time around, as that's been a big focus of the show. So this is number one. Under current Social Security law, full retirement age is 65, no matter when you were born.
That is wrong. So full retirement age is actually 67 for anyone born after 1960, and it depends on when you were born.
Yeah, and a big misconception, as you said, is that it doesn't matter when you start or when I was born. And actually, during the years, depending on the month, you could be 66 in 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, or 10 months. So to say the least, they make it a little bit more confusing than I believe it should be. But
yeah, I was going to say, doesn't that sound nice to just have, like one age for everybody, and kind of a one size fits all sort of a deal? But we got to make it a little bit more complicated than that. It just ease of understanding, not necessarily top of mind for this, but that's true. It's either 66 and some months, or the age of 67.
Yeah, and just to elaborate on that further, that's something that we help our clients with a lot on our initial meetings is getting logged into that Social Security website. You can track your benefit, see exactly how much it will be if you take it early, if you decide to defer. The website is very intuitive, and that's something we help people with because it can be a little bit daunting when you're coming up on Social Security.
Right. And the main point is we want to make sure that you get to retire your way. And so by helping strategize Social Security benefits, again, it's leading to that 5 o'clock summer retirement where we're taking out all of that worry.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, if you've got a plan for all of these different aspects, and there's so many that go into it, there's so much to consider, right? If you have a plan that includes all of that, and you have, the professional advice here from a team like you, where, you're talking to people who know what they're talking about, then you could come up with that plan that is going to be, get you to that, a time in your life where every day is Saturday, like we've talked about. All right, so number two here, in most cases, if I take benefits before my full retirement age, they'll be reduced for early filing.
That is right. And so the earliest that you can take Social Security is age 62, unless you are disabled. So that's a different category. But if you're not disabled, then 62 is the earliest in which your benefit is reduced. Now, every year that you wait, you do get an 8% increase. And part of our initial consultation is helping decide whether or not I should file early, whether I should file full retirement, or whether I should defer all the way to age 70, which is the maximum allowed time for you to be able to wait.
Yeah, and that really is, again, one of those things that is customizable for the individual, because you might think, oh, it's this government program, I'll just take it whenever, in the beginning, go on, take the money and run, or I will, wait until my full retirement age and get the full benefit, or no, I'm waiting all the way to 70 and getting the maximum benefit. It really is a different situation for each individual person. So.
Right. And for couples, they may want to utilize more of a split approach where you allow the higher earners to get that increase each year while you go ahead and draw on the lower earners benefit for the now money, so to speak.
Yeah. And there you go. I mean, just another option there for people in a married couple sort of a situation. Speaking of married couples, the next statement in Right or Wrong here is this. If I have a spouse and he or she passes away, I will receive both my full benefit and my deceased spouse's full benefit.
Unfortunately, that is wrong. That would be nice, though.
I know. Let's say it's another one of those. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
Situations.
So unfortunately, you will, as they say, you'll get to keep the higher check. So that is great. But the lower of the two checks will leave the house whenever that spouse does pass away.
Right. And again, part of planning for retirement is planning for the worst case scenario. So we try to talk about, if this were to happen, what would you do? And when we sit down and meet with our client, we go through those one-on-one with them.
Yeah. You got to plan for those like what ifs in life, because it is, as I like to say sometimes, it's life and anything can happen. You don't have a crystal ball. Mine has been broken for quite some time, so I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day or anything like that. So you got to plan for all those different contingencies, right? That whatever might happen. And this is another example of that when it comes to Social Security income. All right, one more here in this edition of Right or Wrong. Based on the government's most recent calculations, Social Security benefits could be reduced by 20% or more for everyone by 2035.
That is right. And so depending on who gets elected to office, they're going to have a decision to make on what to do to fix this problem. And we can't predict the future. We don't know what's going to happen, but some of the clients that we've met with who are worried about this happening, we've already established a plan. Okay, if this does happen, what will I do? And they've gone into vehicles where they can supplement their Social Security and make up that difference, and that paycheck will continue for life, and there will be no cuts to that paycheck ever, and that is guaranteed.
Right. And unfortunately, we can't control what the decision is going to be or what the fate of Social Security is, but we can control what we do with our own personal investments in the position that we put ourselves in.
Yeah. And so set yourself up for success and get yourself a plan for your more successful retirement so that you can have a retirement your way. That is the name of the show, after all. But stick around. We've got much more of Retirement Your Way to come. And as always, scan that QR code at the bottom of your screen if you'd like to get set up with a free consultation with Bradley and Madison. We'll see you in just a minute. This is Retirement Your Way with AmeriLife of Central Florida. Thank you so much for sticking with us throughout the show today. I really do appreciate your time, and hopefully you're getting a lot of great sort of nuggets to take into your own financial life. I'm Matt McClure here alongside Bradley and Madison Harden with AmeriLife of Central Florida. We've talked about a lot of different things, covered a lot of territory today, mainly around Social Security and retirement income in general, but with a focus on Social Security. What are, whichever one of you wants to grab this as I throw it out here, what's maybe the one main takeaway that you guys kind of want to emphasize from this show?
I think looking back on this episode, it would be that it's important to meet with a professional and get a second pair of eyes on what you may have thought was going to be your plan for drawing Social Security and your retirement income. It may not always be the path that you stay on, and that's okay. Once you learn new alternatives to your plan, you may want to go a different course with it.
Right, I agree. And the biggest thing is transitioning from that accumulation stage into that planning, preparation, and then ultimately distribution, where I'm now going to be living on and living with the choices I've made up to this point. And as we pointed out in the case study, it was the couple that we sat with, they thought they knew exactly what they wanted to do. You know, this was the advice, this is where we were headed. And through that discovery and through that conversation, we ultimately decided that that may not be the best strategy for you guys. And it was their choice to make, but we did give them that second opinion, and they ultimately decided to go with what we asked of them.
Yeah, and that is a super important point to make, I think, and really emphasize here, is that it's not you know, when you go in and sit with someone, whether it be a couple, a family, an individual, whomever, it's not you simply going and saying, okay, no, this is what you have to do. And in like this sort of high pressure situation, it's you take a look at the picture holistically, right? But it's a partnership. You're working with those people to come up with the best plan for them. And the education part is really where all that starts.
Right. And going back to that holistic approach with these particular clients, we met them before they were retired, before they were of age to be on Medicare. And we were actually able to help them with their health care, with their retirement income, with their finances. So they became clients of ours from all aspects. And because we were able to do that, it gave us a better idea of how we were going to be able to help them from all angles. So it benefited them in a large way.
Right. And they have a daughter that they still care for. And so we wanted to make sure that they made the right choice for the whole family, not just because they heard somebody talking about, oh, this is what you should do. This is the best and only strategy. And again, not every strategy is the same. So we've met plenty of people where they elected to defer Social Security. And again, all of that is customizable and comes out when we create a plan.
Right. And it kind of goes to show you, the sort of traditional wisdom might not be so wise. In other words, it's like because everybody's different, you have to have a customized plan. And so that, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, I'm sure, that, what was good for your mom, your dad, Uncle Joe, your neighbor down the street is not necessarily what is the best for you, right? And so what happens if somebody is to scan the QR code that's on the screen or go to the website, call the number? What's that sort of initial meeting like when you sit down with someone?
So typically in our first meetings, we're just getting to know each other, sort of like I've said before, getting to know that new doctor or specialist that you're trying to get them up to speed. We just ask you a lot of questions. You can ask us any questions, and we kind of get a good baseline for our fact finder. So we can take it back and do our own research and analyze your specific need. And then we'll come back with any findings that we have and see if we can maybe go from there. But typically our first appointments are very lax. We try to keep it very, easygoing and just get to know each other on more of a personal level so we can build that relationship.
Yeah, so important, right? When you're starting out with the first meeting with people, just actually getting to know them and their financial situation.
Right. And like we've said, it's not one size absolutely does not fit all. So we try to custom tailor that.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it says one size fits all, it really doesn't fit anybody all that well.
Right.
So there you go. If you folks want a customized plan just for you, just specifically tailored to your needs, I would encourage you to scan that QR code that's there on your screen. You can also call the number or go to the website, set up that initial consultation. Again, it's free of any cost and any obligation. Bradley and Madison will be glad to get started on a plan just for you. Well, Bradley, Madison, thank you both. Really do appreciate your time once again.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. We look forward to sitting with you again.
Absolutely. We'll do it again next time right here when we're back with more Retirement Your Way. Thanks so much.
The preceding program was sponsored by AmeriLife of Central Florida.